Hi everybody, I hope you're well. I'm ready for another story time. Today we are going to read Herb, the Vegetarian Dragon. I hope you're ready. Every dragon in the forest of Norgård was a meat eater. Meathook was their leader. In the middle of the forest of Norgård stood a castle dark. There was nothing Meathook liked better than to raid the castle at night with his friends. He particularly liked the sweet taste of royal princesses, and the crispy crunch of brave knights was almost as delicious. But one dragon was different. While Meathook and his friends sat in his cave planning their next raid, Herb was happy to tend to his vegetable patch. He grew turnips, tomatoes, leeks and lettuces, cauliflowers and carrots. He grew peas and parsnips, red and yellow, peppers, potatoes and parsley, for Herb was a vegetarian. Late one night, the brave knights held their meeting at Castle Dark. Bernard was bold, Bernard the Bold was their leader. This time he came to rid the forest of the fearful dragons who raided our castles and devoured our people, and eat all of the best wild boar meat. Bernard declared that we must plan a great hunt. "Death to the dragons!" the knights shouted. "Now listen carefully. The king has decreed that each dragon must be captured alive." "Alive?" grumbled the knights. "Why alive?" "Alive because the dragons we find are to walk the plank into the moat of the Castle Dark for all to see." "Hip hip hooray!" shouted the knights. Suddenly a rush of air and the sound of wings beating brought the castle's attention. Through the windows of the high stone walls they saw a monstrous dragon flying away from the full moon. "A dragon spy!" called Bernard. The dragons met in a huge hidden cave. Herb, who had not been invited, knew nothing of the knights' scheme. Meathook spoke. "My friends, the knights, are planning a hunt. We must be ready for them." And in answer, dragon tails pounded on the floor, and the cave shook with the sound of thundering, evil voices. "We'll singe 'em, fry 'em, boil 'em and pot 'em, stew 'em and steam 'em, the whole juicy lot." "No," bellowed Meathook, "we shall disappear, stay hidden in our caves and wait them out until we shall attack. Then you can sing your songs." The dragons roared in their approval of his plan, and their fiery tongues lashed at the roof of the huge cave. As this was happening, Herb was cooking up a new soup made of butter, leeks, onions and potatoes. He said, licking his lips. "Very tasty. I must give it a name. Herb's famous Lakewater Veggie Slurp." He didn't realize that he was in danger, that when the night set out, he would be the only dragon to be seen in all of Norgård Forest. That evening, 100 knights in groups of 4 set forth on their hunt, each heading in a different direction. For 7 days and 7 nights they searched, but not a dragon was to be seen. Then, on the last day of the hunt, a group heading west saw a dragon in the distance. They knew just what to do. Herb was hoeing his garden, quite unaware that he was being surrounded on all sides. As he bent to pull out a difficult weed, the knights pounced. Herb's blue flame was powerless against the chainmail mesh of their nets. His wings strained uselessly against their ropes as he was dragged away by his tail. "What have I done?" thought Herb. "Won't somebody tell me?" But he couldn't speak because his jaws were bound tightly with a rope. One of Meathook's dragon spies watched from the distant peak and then glided silently away to report what he had seen. The king had ordered Herb to meet his fate down at the jaws of the hungry alligators. From the small, dank, iron-barred cell, Herb could hear their horrid snapping sounds and see the wooden plank where he would meet his doom. Suddenly he heard a voice. "Psst! Herb, you ridiculous excuse for a dragon. I have a last offer to make. We decided to help you. I've got a dozen dragons here ready to tear down this jail and get you out. We ask only one thing in return. What is it? Asked Herb. I'll do anything to save my life. Take this, hissed Meathook as he thrust his scaly fist up against the bars. What's this? Asked Herb. It's wild boar meat. Eat it and become one of us. It's a small price to pay for your freedom, he gloated, and I'm sure you will agree. Thanks, but no thanks, said Herb. I don't see it your way, so I'll take my chances. I don't ask you to stop eating meat, so why do you ask me to stop eating vegetables? Idiot, Meathook muttered as he flew off into the darkness. You can't be different in the dragon world to survive. Hundreds of people crowded around the castle moat as Herb was dragged from his cell. A rope held his jaws shut. A huge man with a long pole stepped forward. For crimes of burning, stealing and murdering, to serve as an example for all who would dare repeat these actions, this evil dragon will walk the plank and be devoured by the king's alligators for all to behold. The crowd roared with its approval. The drummer rolled his stick as Herb was pulled to his feet at the water's edge. As Herb, being pushed from behind, reached to the very end of the plank, and with only 1 single second before he would drop into that swirling waters of death, a tiny voice cried, "Wait!" Then the drumming stopped. A little girl ran down the plank and grasped the pole as Herb teetered at the edge. The alligators wanted their meal. "This dragon is my friend," said the little girl. "I have watched him tend his vegetable patch and I have played with him, and never once has he tried to harm me. He only eats vegetables. You must spare his life." "Stop!" cried Bernard the Bold as he approached the girl. "How do we know what you say is true?" The little girl dragged Herb back by his tail and climbed up his scales. Before anyone could stop her, she released the ends of the rope that tied his jaws closed, and they snapped open with a rush of blue flames as he perched on his head. "Nicole, get down from there!" shouted a man. "It's all right, father," said Nicole, and then she climbed right into Herb's mouth and sat there, with only her legs dangling free. Herb gulped and tried to smile. "See, now do you believe me?" cried Nicole. "He wouldn't harm anyone." As the awestruck crowd stared up at her, the silence was broken by a loud crash. Meathook, who was spying on the proceedings, had fallen out of his treetop hiding place. He lay there helpless on the ground, his wings entangled in a mass of branches. At once 12 knights sprang forwards and bound him with ropes. "That's one of the meat eaters," shouted the little girl. She climbed out of Herb's mouth. "Feed them both to the gators," someone yelled. "Stop!" commanded the king. "There is an opportunity here. If we kill these dragons, we risk an all-out war and many will lose their lives. You," the king said, pointing to Herb, "the child says you are vegetarian. By your word as a dragon, is that true?" "It is, your highness. I am a herbivore." "And you, whatever your name is," the king continued. "Meathook," said Meathook, puffing up his chest. "I am a meat eater, a carnivore like my father and my grandfather before me." "Very well, Meathook, I give you a choice. I will not ask you to change your eating habits. It is your rightful choice to eat what you will. But in exchange for sparing your life, I ask that you stop you and your dragon brothers from feasting on my people. Stop your burning and stealing and live in peace as a dragon, as Herb has done." "But dragons have always burned and pillaged and devoured knights and princesses. It's what we do. We can't change." "No law has the power to change habits," the king replied. "Only you have the power to change what you are. We can all live in peace if we want to," said Herb. "Release them," commanded the king. "Dragon Herb and Dragon Meathook, I expect your answers by the end of the day." Sorry, I drew the picture. In the hidden cave of all the dragons of Norgord, they met to hear the king's offer. "It's a trick to de-dragon us," shouted one. "Better than an endless war, isn't it?" shouted another. "If we just have to give up eating people," said a large dragon from the rear. Live in peace with people. I can't imagine it, said another. I wouldn't mind having a nice garden like Herb has, said one of the younger dragons. And I'll help you if you like, offered Herb. I'll give you some seeds and show you how to sow your vegetables. We must vote, announced Meathook. Now. Then all of the dragons voted, and the result of that vote is recorded in the history books of Norgord. And even to this day, the story is told of how Herb, the vegetarian dragon, brought peace to the forest of Norgord, where dragons and people, meat eaters and vegetarians, live together in peace and harmony. What a lovely story, and I love the message in that no matter what you like to do, whatever you like to eat, we can all live together in peace. What a lovely story. I hope you all have a nice rest of your day, whatever you get up to, and I will see you soon. Bye.